Seeing Yesterday for Me portrays self-doubt and self-improvement really well. If you don't know what Seeing Yesterday for Me is, I wouldn't be surprised. The manga came out in 1997 and it concluded in 2015. The series got an anime in spring 2020, but 2020 was a weird time for anime because that was peak COVID. Also, the series got overlooked by Tower of God and Love is War. Don't let Seeing Yesterday for Me fool you. The creator Ki Tomei does an amazing job depicting raw emotions, and the characters feel painfully realistic at times. This series is criminally underrated, and I want to talk about it. My name is Sol, and today me and Axel Beats will be talking about Seeing Yesterday for Me and how relatable this story can be to many people. We will be talking about major parts of the story, so if you haven't seen it before, this is your spoiler warning. We start the story off with Rikuo. He is a freeter. For anyone who doesn't know what a freeter is, it is a Japanese term for someone who works part-time or is unemployed, usually between the age of 18 to 34. He works part-time at a convenience store, and his life seems pretty simple. He has a few friends, goes to work, and pays his bills. But something seems off about Rikuo. Ki Tomei does a great job of showing emotions without the characters saying a single word. When Rikuo is at work or talking to friends, he tends to look tired a lot of times or not interested in things that are going on. He spaces out or he looks like he's overthinking about something. That part of the story resonated with me. When I first got into the series, I saw a lot of myself in Rikuo. I was close to being done with high school and I didn't know what I wanted to do after. I felt a lot of pressure building up and I was never really a school person, so college didn't really seem like a real path for me. Every day time would pass and I would feel more stuck as time went on. I kind of fell into this trap of just disassociating and going with emotions with life for a long time, trying to figure something out. But back to Rikuo, let's go to his backstory and see why he acts the way that he does right now. A couple of years ago, Rikuo was in university and he seemed way happier. His friend group looked bigger and he was best friends with Shinako. Shinako is another main character in the series, and ironically, she is very important to Rikuo's growth later on in the story. Rikuo and Shinako became close in university, and he developed feelings for her. When university ended, they naturally drifted apart, and he never got to express his feelings to Shinako. Damn, now I see why the guy sulks around all day. Alright, but on a serious note, I think it's a little deeper than just losing the girl. Rikuo also had a big fear of things changing. When he's in college, he sees the same group of people every day and he has a best friend, and all that slips away from him. This is a trend we see in the story with Rikuo, especially when he meets a certain someone later on. Now with the context I just gave you, the reaction Rikuo has when he sees Shinako again is not so crazy. Like, look at this guy's face, it looks like he just seen a ghost. Rikuo's world stops. He gets another chance to make things right with Shinako, and a form of normality comes back into his life. They catch up and you can tell that they are on different playing fields. Rikuo has always felt behind when it comes to Shinako. She always seemed like she had everything put together, but she is a full-time teacher now and Rikuo works at a convenience store. So now he probably feels even more intimidated. Not saying there's anything wrong with working at a convenience store, it just shows how stagnant Rikuo has been over the years. Rikuo on the outside seems like he's fine with the life he lives, but something feels wrong, as if he wants more. Something has to change, and maybe Shinako coming to his life is that wake-up call. At the end of the first episode, Rikuo confesses to Shinako, taking a step further, but just because you take a step further doesn't mean you will always succeed. Shinako declines his feelings and wants to stay just friends. This man cannot catch a break. That part was so hard to watch for the first time. Putting myself in Rikuo's shoes, I wouldn't have taken that rejection easily. So many thoughts would be racing through my mind. Did I mess up this friendship? Why would I even just do that? But let's check and see how Rikuo took the rejection himself.
It's my fault for dragging it out! Just peachy. Damn it! I'm sick of life!
Oh, yeah, after the rejection, Rikuo sort of spirals. The normality he just got back in his life is back in a really weird spot. Rikuo goes back to his moping ways and he acts very grumpy towards Haru. Now, who is Haru? Besides being one of the best characters in the series, she is one of the main factors of Rikuo's eventual turnaround. I'll let Axel Beats talk about how Haru and Rikuo's relationship went.
Easily my favorite dynamic in the series is the relationship between Rikuo and Haru. When we're introduced to him, Rikuo had just graduated college and had spent a while as a cashier at a convenience store. But having a minimum wage job isn't Rikuo's biggest problem. What the real issue is that he lacks any sense of motivation, any sense of self-worth, or any desire to become better. He feels like he let the chance to be with Shinako slip through his fingers because he didn't think that he was good enough for her back then, and in all the time since then, he's just sat and stewed in those feelings rather than ever making a change. And sure, you might just say, well, why not get up and make something of yourself? But that's the problem. He doesn't think that he is worth the effort, and because of that, nothing matters. Why get a better job when I'll still be me? Why go on a date when I'll just ruin things? Why become better when things are just fine now? But that brings him to meeting Haru, someone who only sees the value in him. Like Rikuo, Haru had crushingly low self-worth. She was struggling in school, her parents had gotten a divorce, and it just wasn't great for her. But one day she drops a bus ticket and a random guy on the street saves her by returning it. This, of course, was Rikuo. And now I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like this is the best reason to fall in love with someone, but this moment completely shapes how Haru sees him. While he believes that there is nothing good about him, Haru has seen that his natural impulse is to help others. Inside that mopey and uninspired shell is someone who can and will go out of their way to be good. Which brings us to the main emotional conflict of the story. Rikuo believes that he is unworthy of happiness or love because he believes he's going nowhere and doesn't have value. While on the other hand, Haru is head over heels in love with him, and because she sees the value in him, she is willing to put up with his shitty behavior because she sees the good that is under it. This of course becomes even more complicated when Shinako returns and suddenly any chance for progress that Rikuo had is put on standstill. Why would he work towards a future that he can't see hope in when he can try and fix things with Shinako? It would be like going back in time and correcting all of his mistakes. And you might be catching on at this point that the whole series is everyone looking backwards for their answers when what they actually need is just right in front of them. When Rikuo finally confesses his love to Shinako, she rejects him. And rejection is kind of a funny thing. You see, in the past, Rikuo believed that his inaction is what kept him from living a life with her. But now that he actually got rejected, it's like a splash of cold water in the face. It snaps him back to reality. Standing still hasn't done him any favors, and he finally realized he had to actively move forward in life. So he gets a new job in a field that he loves. He starts taking better care of himself. He becomes someone worthy of love in his own eyes. However, the reason that he's doing this is still misplaced. He wants to become better not for himself, but so that he can win over Shinako. And this completely breaks Haru's heart because obviously she loves the dude, but more importantly, Shinako doesn't love him. Sure, she cares about Rikuo, but Shinako is dealing with her own mountain of trauma, and because of that, she's too anxious and hesitant to ever really commit to Rikuo. It's completely wishy-washy, and as a result, Rikuo once again becomes stagnant as he waits for her. But over time, he realizes that this stagnation isn't what he wants, it's not good for him, and nothing has changed. That idealized future where he had a relationship with Shinako was nothing like reality, and despite all the effort he had put in, being with her was the same as being alone at the start of the series. And this is what brings him back to Haru. He finally sees that there was someone trying to pull him forward rather than holding him in place. Someone who saw the value in him this entire time, and so he breaks up with Shinako, stops living in the past, and finally takes a real chance at happiness in the future. I think the reason that Rikuo resonates with me so much is because my life after college was pretty similar to his. I had just finished a 5-year program and I was still working a minimum wage job for a while because I didn't really feel like changing my life. And that eventually gave me a feeling of just spinning my wheels and not ever moving forward. And I stayed like that for, admittedly, way too long. But eventually I decided that I needed to pull myself out of that funk, got working on myself, working towards something better, instead of just accepting the hole that I had dug myself into. And I think that's one of the reasons why this show connects with almost everyone who watches it. At some point or another, you will find yourself in one of these characters' shoes. You might be stuck in a rut and looking down on yourself. You might be in love but with the wrong person or with someone who's overlooking you. You might be grieving over someone that you lost and you're struggling to pick up the pieces of your life without them. Or you could just be jealous or feel like you've been living in someone else's shadow. These are all simple characters with simple stories but relatable problems. And I think that's exactly why Sing Yesterday works so well.
You know, for a very long time, I used to wonder why I was so fascinated with this series. How can I like this series so much? Seeing these characters constantly trying to look for answers, and sometimes the characters could be unbearable. Like, really unbearable. And then it hit me, like Axel said, the story has something for everybody. You'll most likely be in one of these characters' shoes at some point in your life. I could look at Rikuo and think about times when I was uncertain about the future and being stagnant, because why would I want to put myself out there? Why would I want the possibility of failure to even be an option? Or I've done certain things for the wrong reason. That could be for a person or whatever other reason in the past, when we really should be doing things for the betterment of ourselves. At the end of the day, you know yourself the best and you live with yourself throughout life. I could look at Haru and resonate with the feeling of being lonely, but putting a smile for everyone to see. I could even look at Shinako and understand the grief she is going through. It is hard to let go of the past, and it's even harder to not let it eat you alive, especially losing someone so close to you. Kitome does a great job making all these characters feel human, and you could see it through all their mistakes. The last episode of the series, a lot of people did not like. They say the series feels like a big waste of time since Rikuo just runs to Haru at the end, making her seem like a second option. I never saw it like that. This is a story about people who have baggage that they need to let go of, and before they move forward, they need to be honest with themselves first and heal. Nobody is perfect, and that's why I think the ending works so well. It's not a neat and well put together ending, but life isn't like that. Things get messy and not everything is black and white. Life has a lot of gray areas in it, or that's how I see it at least. But if you've watched Sing Yesterday for me before, let me know how you feel about the series down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my boy Axel down below. His link will be in the comments section. And I started a Discord server, so if you want to join and chill and just talk to me or just talk to other people that are in it, that will be in the description as well. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.